No, we can't be boring here. I mean, Duke most likely does win this tournament. I've kind of talked myself into Duke's going to win the big dance, too. I'm a big John Shire guy, and Cooper Flagg, kid's good, man. He's going to future Chicago Bull, Cooper Flagg. No, so there's two teams, I think, other than Duke. If you want to take a long shot that you could bet, we're probably going to have the same name here. So Clemson, though, is interesting because they opened up 7-1. You could shop around, but down to plus 550 right now over at BetMGM. And the reason I would go with them, opposite side of the bracket from Duke, should cruise in their quarterfinal game. And then so Louisville in the semis, that's going to be a hell of a game for kind of these like second-tier teams in the ACC. So I still would give them the advantage in that game. And so I would go with Clemson. You know, I do think that they're probably, I know that they're the second best team in the ACC. So that would be my safe pick other than Duke at plus 550.
I'm with you, man. You and I are very symbiotic here. I'm going to go with Clemson as well. And again, being the numbers nerd that I am, I like to employ a lot of the advanced analytics to back what I'm seeing with the eye test. And Clemson's been passing with flying colors. Now, they've been beaten up on a wildly mediocre ACC league this season, but they've been doing it in convincing fashion. How convincing? Well, over the last 30 days, according to Torvik, they're number 6 in the country overall, and Duke's at number 1. So Clemson's kind of hanging tough with them. They've already knocked them off this year. Of course, that was a true home game inside Little John Coliseum, but they still beat the Dukies. You look at Clemson, they're top 25 adjusted offensive and defensive efficiency, and they're actually number 3 in the country at adjusted defensive efficiency in their last 7 games, giving up a 0.898 points per possession, a team that really rams with the pressure. They're coaxing a turnover on nearly 21% of opponent possessions. They get after it, the chef, Shefflin, and Lockett as well, the big Russian in the interior. They get a ton of second chance opportunities, grabbing that rebound on the offensive end, 36.4% of their possessions the last month, and they're effective from 3 at 35.7% from distance. So they got a lot of balance. They have suitable size. Again, they can hang on the glass with just about anybody. They match up pretty well with Duke. So in a neutral court environment, and look at their draw as well. Remember, they're on the bottom half of this bracket. So they have to contend with Louisville, who is the 2 seed. If those teams were to march on the semifinals, so they wouldn't face Duke again until the finals. And I'm getting them a plus 550 to effectively knock off Duke. I think they're the only value play really on the board and the only sensible play in my mind in the action going down in Charlotte. However, you've got a sleeper in this tournament showdown as well. And who is that?
You know, real small, I always like to take a couple long shots. A couple years ago, we talked about this on the show last night. I had Georgia Tech when they won the ACC tournament. Granted, they didn't have to play a semifinal game because COVID hit. But I got lucky. So I'll take a shot, too, with Louisville, man, just the way that they're playing right now. Second seed in the tournament, like you said. They've won 9 consecutive games. They've won 19 of their last 20, and I know the competition in the ACC isn't so tough, but I've kind of talked myself into them a little bit here. If they are going to win the ACC tournament, upset Duke, stay hot, I think we're going to have to get a Chucky Hepburn, like, Kemba Walker type performance. But I think, man, honestly, he's the second best player in the conference next to Cooper Flagg. A really good three-point shooter, really good attack defender, and I think that he could go off, man, in this tournament. I like Pat Kelsey as well. I'm just looking, man, he's already like 16 points per game, almost 6 assists. He's had 25 plus in 5 games during this winning streak. He's had at least 7 assists on 12 different occasions. If Louisville, if he could stay hot, I could see them maybe making a run to at least the championship game, getting a good hedging opportunity. So Louisville and Clemson would be my only picks in this tournament other than Duke.
Yeah, it's the only suitable pick, to be honest with you. It's one of those two. Because, Duke is a minus 325. And people are like, oh, man, it's automatic. You just don't, count your chickens before they hatch. Nothing is a guarantee. Nothing is locked. They do not exist, America. As good as Duke is, and I'm with Horvat, I think they are the real deal Holyfield. I know the ACC and the narrative out there is they're not prepared. They haven't played stiff and rugged competition. They played Illinois, and that Illinois team was walking wounded to all the various sicknesses that were ravaging that club when they clobbered them by 43 inside Madison Square Garden. So that really wasn't a fair assessment or measuring stick. John Shire probably feels the same way, but I think we're going to see just how much they're going to be tested in this ACC tournament. If they clobber everybody, they blow everyone out in Charlotte, I'm probably going to say, yeah, Duke's going to win the national title this year.
Yep.
I don't really see any team that's going to hang with them or compete with them. Maybe the Florida Gators in a neutral court environment, single elimination scenario. And, of course, that's what every NCAA tournament game is. That action will be going down in San Antonio, assuming they're on opposite sides of the bracket. But, yeah, I mean, this is going to be kind of a proving ground for just how spectacular Duke could be this year. So they got to, show up and really show out in their own way to convince maybe people like me that may not be 100% convinced that they're going to go untouched, unblemished in the NCAA tournament this season. So, yeah, I'm really curious to see how Duke performs overall. Another team that I'm really curious to see how they perform because they're on the outside looking in. It's Word Daddies, our producer Mario, big-time North Carolina Tar Heels fan. And Horvat, I felt they had to beat Duke. They got a lead early in the second half. Then they got boat raced in like the last 12 minutes of the game, and it was no contest. You look at the overall resume, Carolina number 40 in terms of net. They played the fifth hardest overall strength of schedule. They had a very difficult non-conference strength of schedule as well, but they're 1-11. 1-11 in quadrant one games this season. They got the quadrant three loss, that black eye on the resume. They're on the top half of the bracket. They're going to play Notre Dame tomorrow. If they beat the Fighting Irish, then they would play Wake Forest, have to win that game with an opportunity more than likely to play Duke in the semifinals. Even if they knocked off the Dukies this time around, third time playing them, that still doesn't guarantee that they're going to make the NCAA tournament as an at-large. I think they got to get the auto berth outright. I got them as the next four out currently on the bracket big board. What are your thoughts about Carolina? By the way, they have gone from plus 116 to miss the NCAA tournament just a handful of days ago to minus 1,100 to miss the NCAA tournament. And right now it's at minus 620. Why? I don't know. It should be like minus $1 billion right now because they have to get the auto berth if they want to go dancing this year.
Yeah, it looks like they really do, man. I thought that they were going to sneak in, right? But the problem is what you said. One quad one win. Even their non-con schedule, though, was grueling. I mean, they played Alabama, they played Auburn, they played Michigan State, they played Florida. They didn't beat any of those teams, man. I mean, they haven't beat anybody. December 21st, that was the win. That was the quad one win against UCLA. What sucks for UNC is they did play pretty. I don't know if you guys saw the viral video of the two girls. They got their Carolina colors on, and she's like, at least they tried hard. And you know what? Like, that's what I said to my wife after I lost a couple $100 betting on UNC. Not only with the points, but I took the money line like a lunatic, too, after a nice little start to the day. And they take the lead in the second half. I feel pretty good. And then they just completely fall apart. But I looked at that like Duke is just a much better basketball team. It sucks for Carolina because they've won 6 straight games before that. They were playing much better basketball. They have 20 wins. They're probably going to get another one against Notre Dame. I think they're 7.5-point favorites, but I don't think they get in unless they win this tournament, man. And we just talked about the two teams we think might be able to overtake Duke. Might. And I don't think Carolina's going to do it. Although, hey, kind of like I said with the Zags tonight, hard to beat a team 3 times in the same season, though. There's your motivation right there, Mario and Hubert Davis.